Yo, yo, what's happening, world? B Marsh Boxing. I'm back at it once again with another post fight review. You already know Saturday night. Here we are, two undefeated fighters at the lightweight division putting their all on the line. Don't get no better than this. Now, I can't really call this a domestic rivalry, being that Michel Ali Rivera is from the Dominican Republic and the man Frank Martin, I believe he's from Canada or something, right? Hey, man, but hey, two undefeated fighters who ply their trade here in the United States, fight on American TV. And this was a damn good matchup, and I couldn't wait for this fight. And here we are, man. The fight just ended. Let me hear the scorecards right quick, y'all. Unanimous. All right, man. So, this particular fight, like I said, two undefeated fighters. Michel Ali Rivera coming into this fight with 24 wins and zero losses versus Frank Martin. Frank Martin coming into this fight at 16 and 0 with 12 knockouts. I think Michel Rivera is 24 and 0 with 14 knockouts. Now, Michel Rivera got the longer reach, taller fighter, you know what I mean, and has the age advantage, being 24 years old as opposed to the man Frank Martin, who's 28 years old. Now, the man Frank Rivera in the first round was a close round, but I edged it to Rivera. You know what I mean? I thought he was more active with his jab, trying to um, gauge the distance. You know what I mean? Trying to control the pace and the range. And Frank Martin did land a harder punch in round one. You know what I mean? A big left hand straight down the pipe. But at the end of the day, I thought that the man Rivera at round one won the first round because of the activity and the punch output. You know what I mean? But round two, that's where Martin started to display his skill set. You know what I mean? Let me hear what this guy got to say right quick, y'all. He's doing his post-fight interview right now. It ain't with Jim Gray. Where Jim Gray at? But anyways, the man Frank Martin, his being the shorter fighter, he started to control the range and the distance and the ring generalship from here on out. Being the shorter fighter, he was using his jab, you know what I mean? Pumping out that jab. He has a very good right hook, you know what I mean, from the southpaw stance. Kept his right foot on the outside, kept circling to his right. But the man Frank Martin was throwing that left hand straight down the pipe. And that's where he couldn't miss, you know what I mean? Michel Rivera kept coming forward, you know what I mean? Kept coming forward, but he wasn't establishing his jab. You check it because now Frank Martin has established his jab and is more dominant with his jab, you know what I mean? Now, I gave round two, of course, to the man Frank Martin. I gave round three as well to Frank Martin, four to Frank Martin. Round five was the next round that I gave to Michel Rivera. You know what I mean? Michel Rivera started trying to put his combinations together. He has a good right hand, you know what I mean? But his head movement is non-existent, you know what I mean? And that's to me where the difference in skill set was, you know what I'm saying? Very good fight between two undefeated fighters, but the man Frank Martin's tight, slick defense. You check his slipping punches, circling to his right to avoid the straight right hand, which is the kid Ali, Michel Ali Rivera's best punch. He kept his tight, composed defense, slipping punches, and this man barely really got hit tonight, y'all. And not only tonight, that is Frank Martin's MO during throughout his whole career. He has very good defense. He barely gets hit. You know what I mean? He's a very good fighter, man. Errol Spence got a real good fight on his in his stable. Round seven, Frank Martin finally unleashes as far as finds an opening for the straight right hand, and at this point in round seven, the man Rivera's right eye is kind of busted. You check it, not leaking or but you could see that he's been getting hit. And it's not necessarily all night with the right hand, with the right hook, which Frank Martin, that's one of his best punches. But his straight left hand was landing any and everywhere on the man Frank on Rivera's face, you know what I mean? Whether to the chin, whether to the cheeks, whether it's straight to the right between the eyes, or whether to the right or left eye. Frank Martin calls out Rolly Romero. Big ups to the man, Frank Martin. But anyways, round seven, Frank Rivera gets put on his ass. You know what I mean, with a straight left hand, and he was already going down. And the man, Frank Martin, put the exclamation mark with the right hook. You know what I mean, to put him on the canvas. That's already a 10-8 round, and this man Frank Rivera is already down. I'm sorry, Michel Rivera is down big. This man already by round 7, 8, he needs a knockdown or a knockout to get back into this fight. And it was all downhill from there after the knockdown. Excuse me. Frank Martin was just toying with this guy. It was just the skill set. Going into this fight, I favored Frank Martin to win this fight, although the betting odds, for whatever reason, had Frank Rivera winning. I'm sorry, Michel Rivera supposed to win this fight, but the combination punching in the second half of the fight by Frank Martin, body shot game, and the straight left. You know what I mean? It wasn't even so much a battle of, the hooks. And that's where Michel Rivera, his left hook was non-existent throughout this fight. You know what I mean? Non-existent, and it was a non-motherfucking factor all throughout the night. And so was his right hand because this dude's defense was just too airtight. You know what I mean? So big ups to Frank Martin, man. He wins this fight wide on my card, man. I gave the dude Michel Rivera only 2 rounds, round one and round five, and really no swing rounds, none of that. This was a complete total domination by the man Frank Martin, the shorter fighter with the shorter reach and the older fighter. Michel Rivera is a guy who he's been knocked down before. I can't remember the guy. It was for a Hispanic guy. I've seen him get dropped before. This was his first time going past 12 rounds, although he did. This is not his first 12 rounder, but the first time going past 10 rounds. You know what I mean? For both fighters, as a matter of fact. You check it. So it was a good test for him. And, it's funny how the man Errol Spence can put his fighter, Frank Martin, and put his O on the line at 16-0. Yes, they were confident they were going to win the fight. I thought they would win the fight as well, but he's testing himself, you know what I mean? And that's all you could ask for, and we would like to see the same from the so-called upper echelon fighters in the sport, you know what I mean? So big ups to Frank Martin. He wins this fight wide on my card to improve to 17-0. And big ups to him. Mike's Ring in the chat. What's up, my G? How's it going, my dude? Mike's Ring says, man, I took another betting L. Placed 100 on Rivera due to him being in boxing longer and being rangier. Martin really showed his worth. I would like to see him against Ortiz or Jojo Diaz. I would like to see those fights as well, you know what I mean? No question. He just called out Rolly Romero. Mike's Ring in the chat says Martin legs moving him in and out of range really befuddled Rivera, who looked limited and was forced to give up his reach height advantage and come inside. Facto, absolutely, and that's because of the tight defense. And not only that, the ring generalship, like you mentioned, from his footwork. You know what I mean? Frank Martin was ducking and dodging and weaving punches. The man Rivera would throw like a 3-4 punch combination and all of them missing because the man keeping an airtight defense and then he counter punching him with the left. Now the man is kind of back. What's his name? Michel Rivera. When he gets counter punched, countered with that left, straight left. Now he's on the back foot. You know what I mean? And that's where the man started to tee off on him. Frank Martin. So excellent performance, very good fight. Very good main event in my opinion. I'm not one of them type of guys who only watches boxing because there's some named fighters. Nah, I love these type of fights right here. You know what I mean? To see the trajectory and to seeing the trajectory of both fighters and really seeing if one guy's a hype job or he's not. So no shame in Michel Rivera's game. He still has a lot of fights left in him. You know what I mean? Maybe other fighters in the lightweight division go try to get him in the ring, and maybe you never know. He can come back. Maybe even he might get a title shot, or whatever. You know how these new fighters be. They like to give fighters title shots when these fighters coming off a loss and shit. fellas like Frank Martin, the better he looks, the harder it will be for him to get a world title shot. We check it. So, Todd French 600, what's happening, dude? How you feeling, man? Good to see you. He says, Rolly won't fight him, lol. Rolly will turn it down. Frank will be dodged after this performance. They're going to duck him, absolutely. Especially at 16 and 0 or 17 and 0 now, He's a dude on the come up, you know what I mean? And all the straps at lightweight belong to Top Rank's own Devin Haney. So, it's going to be difficult to make these fights, but there are plenty of good fights to be made on the PBC side of the street, you know what I mean? With whether it's Rolly Romero, Tank Davis, the little Mexican, Pitbull Cruz, there's plenty of fights to be made, you know what I mean? So time will tell, but this performance by the man, Frank Martin, the display of his footwork and his defense was to me the most impressive. I don't even think offensively neither guy razzle dazzle tonight with their offensive output or techniques and stuff. And I'm not saying that this is the best you'll ever see him as far as offensively. I think Frank Martin really ain't truly ain't have to pull out too many tricks out of his bag. You check it. Uh, Todd French 600 says all facts. So absolutely, man. Big ups to everybody in the chat. Thanks for hitting the thumbs up. Very good, entertaining fight. So was the fight earlier. The fight before this with the Russian guy. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name. I'd never seen him fight before, but he fought Jose Uskatagi, and I think he came into this fight at like 13 and 0, the Russian guy, and he beat the brakes off Uskatagi. Now, I mean, Uskatagi is another guy who ain't got no head movement. He just kept coming in straight forward, getting caught with big straight right hands and uppercuts. But Jose Uskatagi, is a guy who I used to respect up until Slim got popped with the PEDs. So he got what's coming to him, you know what I mean? Big ups to everybody in the chat. Be Marsh Boxing. Let me know how you guys saw this fight as far as your scorecards. I had it wide, very wide. 10 rounds to 2. And that fifth round was actually a little generous round I gave Duke, but that's neither here nor there. Frank Martin dominated this fight. Todd French 600 says, me too, facto. All right, y'all. Catch you guys on the next one. Be Marsh Boxing. If you're new to the channel, please share and subscribe. Hit the thumbs up, and I'm gone. Peace.